The Garden Report is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report out at Vegas, day 5. Rolling along, and we have Jake Fischer with us here from Yahoo Ball Don't Lie podcast. One of my favorite writers nationally for a long time, going back. Always good to connect with you. And I just want to get your thoughts on Boston's offseason. They've been busy. They've been active. They've already made 2 hefty moves, trading Marcus Smart for Porzingis, Grant Williams sign and trade. We're all waiting on that, as well as the Jaylen Brown extension being the third big thing to break here. So let's start with that. I mean, I find it so strange it hasn't happened yet. A lot of extensions have gone through. Pretty much everything you're hearing, and I've heard too, is that the Celtics expect this to happen, but it still hasn't yet, which I can't fully understand why.
I think what's important to consider is that the Celtics have other things that they're trying to work on. Jaylen Brown's representation has other things that they're trying to work on. And both sides have a mutual understanding from everything I've been told that this is going to get done, to your point. And there are certain things. This is a ridiculous analogy I'm going to throw out, but have you ever played Settlers of Catan?
I've heard of it through Grant, but...
Yeah. So you can go build Longest Road and go get, extra 2 points and all of a sudden lose out on other things that you could have gotten Longest Road later. So I think that's really all that I would be very surprised if there isn't a super lucrative agreement that comes out and everything's hunky-dory there. I understand why people think like the more it's waiting, it's curious, but I don't think it's an issue at all.
Yeah, and they have 14 players now. Porzingis added, got some picks through the draft, a rookie, as well as sorted out the Grant thing money-wise here. Roster looks great, obviously, for the most part here. Looks a little incomplete to some degree, too, to me. Maybe that 4 position could use a little depth there. Losing Grant, backcourt. Still have Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon still there, who's been out there in the trade rumors. But do you think this team's done, to your point about them maybe having other priorities in front of Brown right now? Do you think this is more or less the roster, or could there be some more activity to come?
I don't think they're done. I don't think any teams are really done. There are certain teams, like San Antonio's got 15 guys. They seem pretty static. If they go out and make a move to bring on a center, I wouldn't be shocked. But there are teams like the Thunder have like 22 players or something like that right now. They got to cut or trade some people. There's a lot that's still at stake. I feel like usually, there are teams that are done here, but for the fact that the trade market is being so stalled by Dame stuff, by Harden stuff, we'll see. I feel like the messaging has been so consistent that both those things aren't happening quickly. So we'll see if once we get out of Summer League, there could be some, a Pascal Siakam trade here, an Evan Fournier trade in New York there that, shakes things up. With Boston, I mean, the Malcolm Brogdon piece, I think, is probably the most obvious one. He was literally traded before it fell apart. I haven't seen the medical. From what I've heard, I don't think he's like damaged goods, and there isn't an opportunity for him to both play for Boston and be impactful, or him get traded somewhere else. The guard spot is obviously the spot that's unbalanced, to your point, after losing Marcus, but they love Derek there. Peyton Pritchard, I think, he's a first-round pick. He's clearly shown the ability to play, just wasn't in the rotation last season. So will he be enough? We'll see.
The Garden Report is brought to you by HelloFresh. That's HelloFresh.com/16Garden for 16 free meals. HelloFresh.com/16Garden. The Brogdon thing is interesting. I found it curious that they would just move on for him for luxury tax relief or whatever it might be. Obviously, getting Porzingis back for him would have been, ideal. And if they do get something back for him, given his injury, given his salary, I could see how that could be beneficial. But I do think he helped them last year. I've been surprised that name keeps floating around. I've heard it too. I'd have to imagine the Clippers, they're obviously that team with the James Harden interest there. I think they'd still be interested in Brogdon to some degree if that doesn't come to pass, depending on the health, depending on the medicals, as you say there. But I just think the Celtics have to get something back for him to make it worth their while. And I've been a little surprised that name keeps floating out there as someone that they just move off of.
I think it's a piece that they're looking at. The same thing with even Russell Westbrook with the Lakers. Like, the Lakers were not going to move him unless they brought back something of value in return that would help them win and compete right now. So yeah, that's Boston's North Star.
All right, he's Jake Fischer. Read him as always over at yahoo.com. Check out the Ball Don't Lie podcast. Appreciate the time as always, Jake.
Thank you, man.
Garden Report is brought to you by AG1. Go to drinkag1.com/garden for 5 free travel packs as well as a year's supply of vitamin D. That's drinkag1.com/garden. The Garden Report is brought to you by FanDuel. Go to fanduel.com/Boston for $200 in bonus bets. That's fanduel.com/Boston.